There's this huge, frustrating gap in the world of educational charity. What happens when a truly brilliant student just can't afford to continue their education? And at the same exact time, you've got generous people who want to help, but they're just not sure who to trust. Well, today, we're looking at a blueprint designed to solve exactly that. It's all about building a bridge where one is so desperately needed.
And this really gets to the heart of it, right? On one side, you've got all this incredible talent, just held back by empty pockets. And on the other side, you've got all this goodwill, this desire to help, but it's paralyzed by a lack of trust. It's this classic disconnect, a broken bridge that stops potential from ever meeting opportunity.
So let's be really clear about what the problem is here. It's not a shortage of talent, and it's definitely not a shortage of generosity. The real issue is the system, or, the lack of one, that's supposed to connect the two.
And when you dig in, you see the pain on both sides of that broken bridge. For students, it's just a constant struggle. They can't cover basic things like fees or books, and they have no idea where to even look for legitimate help. And then you have the donors, and their worries are completely valid. They're asking, is my money actually going to a student? Is it going to be used the right way? And will I ever know if I actually made a difference?
Okay, so that's the problem. And this is where a completely new blueprint comes into play. The solution here isn't just about shuffling money from one account to another. It's about engineering a system from the ground up that's built on a foundation of transparency and trust. And the organization behind this blueprint is the Sarvagyata Foundation. Their entire reason for existing is to be that bridge. They're creating this super reliable, process-driven platform to connect genuine donors directly with carefully vetted, high-potential students. And this quote from the founder, Kapil Sachdev, really gets to the why behind it all. He says, "I saw that donors wanted to help but couldn't find genuine students. My mission was to create a transparent system to connect them." So you see, he saw this disconnect firsthand. For him, this wasn't some abstract problem. It was a real gap he felt he had to fill. It's personal. So how do you actually build that trust? How do you prove it? Well, it all starts with this incredibly rigorous, data-driven evaluation system they call the 4 pillars of trust. This isn't about feelings or guesswork. It's about using solid, verifiable metrics to make sure that support goes to the students who are truly the most deserving. And here they are, the 4 pillars we're going to break down. You've got financial need, persistence and discipline, academic performance, and cognitive ability. Each one is designed to answer a really crucial question about the student's situation, their character, their track record, and their raw potential. So let's get into it. Okay, pillar number 1, financial need. Now, this is interesting. Instead of just using a simple income cutoff, they calculate what they call the financial deficit. This means they do a serious deep dive, verifying income, looking at assets and expenses. They even do a home visit, all to figure out the precise, actual gap that needs to be filled. It's all about fairness and making sure it's a shared responsibility. All right, the second pillar is really unique. It's called persistence and value discipline. And it's inspired by this Sanskrit shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. The essence is that knowledge leads to humility, which leads to worthiness, and ultimately to a life of goodness and joy. Now, they put this philosophy into practice through something called the Gita test, where Hindu students are asked to memorize an entire chapter. Now, this is the really crucial part, the why behind this test. The foundation is super clear. This is not a religious test. Think about it. Memorizing a whole chapter takes sustained effort, it takes discipline, it takes focus over a long period of time. You just can't fake that. So it becomes this tangible, measurable way to see the very qualities a student is going to need to succeed in the long run. Pillar number 3 is a deep dive into their academic history. We're talking a 2-year performance review. But here's the key. It's not just about hunting for the highest marks. Consistency and improvement are just as important. The team even cross-verifies everything with the schools and gets direct feedback from teachers on things like attendance and conduct. You end up with a really complete picture of the student's commitment. All right, that brings us to the 4th and final pillar. Take a look at this number, 115. What do you think that represents? That is the minimum IQ score required to be considered. It's determined by standardized tests, and a score of 115 puts a student in the high average to superior range. We're talking the top 15 to 20% of the population. This final pillar is so important because it provides an objective, scientific benchmark. It's a way to ensure that donor funds are being invested in students who have the highest cognitive potential to really fly. Okay, so a student has made it through all 4 of those rigorous pillars. What happens next? Let's flip the script and look at this from the donor's perspective. Let's talk about the donor's journey and how this system builds trust through some pretty radical transparency.
And this is probably the biggest promise the foundation makes, 100%. That's how much of your donation goes directly to the student's education. All the administrative costs, all the operational stuff, that's covered personally by the founder. This means every single penny you give goes exactly where you intend it to go. No exceptions. And you can see just how different this model is. With a typical setup, a chunk of your donation often gets skimmed off the top for overhead and admin costs. But here, because the founder's own funds cover all of that, it creates this direct, unbroken pipeline from your wallet straight to the student's school fees and books.
But the transparency doesn't even stop there. As a donor, you can actually log in and see exactly where your money went. You can pull up the payment receipts for tuition, for books, and maybe most importantly, you can track your students' academic progress through their actual reports and mark sheets. It completely closes the loop. It gives you the proof of impact that every donor is looking for. But the vision here is so much bigger than just a single donation for a single student. It's really about creating a sustainable, long-term cycle of positive change, a real ripple effect.
And this idea is at the heart of their whole philosophy, what they call the chain of goodness. The goal isn't just to educate one person and then stop. It's to empower an individual who, because they felt the power of this support themselves, will be inspired to pay it forward. They'll help the next generation, creating this incredible, continuous cycle of kindness. So after seeing how this whole blueprint works, you might be thinking, okay, how can I get involved? And the foundation makes it really clear that being part of the solution is about more than just writing a check.
There are so many ways to help. You can, of course, donate to support a specific student's dream, but you can also volunteer your time or your professional skills. You could become a mentor and help guide a student on their journey. Or you can do something as simple but as powerful as just spreading the word to connect the foundation with others who need help or who want to help.
And really, it all comes down to this final thought. When you see a system that's been designed with this much care, with this much detail and transparency, it kind of shifts the question. It's no longer should I help, it becomes something much more personal. Whose future will you help build?